All right, welcome to the NAIF Ball Live Show powered by AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch, the best in the business since 1974, your go-to for all things web store, apparel, uniforms, all that fun stuff. Corey Thorpe and Matt Schwartzler here, and we are ready to talk about a great week of NAI football. There was so much going on that Matt, let's hop right into it. And
Have to dive in.
I know
It's a good week of football, man.
starting with a game in which, boy, that's a score line. 56-10 St. Thomas takes it to Louisiana Christian. Louisiana Christian only holds the ball for about 24 minutes worth of game time.
Yeah. Preseason, we had mentioned that Louisiana Christian was in a bit of a precarious spot. They had a lot of fifth-year guys last year, seniors and fifth-year guys, like, contributed to their success. And we knew what we would get from this team after this game, and it is very apparent that they still have some holes to patch. And also on top of the fact that St. Thomas, I think, is just that good this year. Very easily a top 10 team in the country with how they've played through this game. I mean, Rontavious Farmer is as good as ever. Keely Watson also contributing through the air with some big passes. It's a good time to be a St. Thomas fan for sure.
Yeah, they really did shut down Louisiana Christian in all three phases. It was, I mean, every time I flipped back to the game, they'd scored another touchdown. I mean, it was absurd. Gotta watch out for St. Thomas. Look, Kaiser's, the odds-on favorites for the Sun, but you cannot count out St. Thomas. They are right there at the door. If Kaiser even thinks about messing up in that game coming up, St. Thomas will be there to take advantage.
Absolutely.
Second up was a game of two teams who underperformed in week one, is how I'll put it. And that's going to be Georgetown and U-Pike. Georgetown gets it to go late, 23-20. Just not a pretty game from either squad. Lee Kirkland does have 3 bills and 3 touchdowns. But this is a game that U-Pike the defense could not get off the field. Georgetown was just good enough on those third downs to keep going. But neither of these teams have been as I would have hoped.
Yeah, I think the big difference for Georgetown in this one was even though their defense did not show up, Sluniker did not turn the ball over, which we saw was the problem when they played Montana Tech last week. Also, Jamarcus Robinson being his main target, accounting for both of his touchdowns through the air, and 171 of Sluniker's 262 passing yards on the day. Big day from him. But you look at that third and fourth down conversion percentage, being at that 70% mark is huge. And obviously this offense put it together in their last drive of the game to put points on the board to pull ahead of what's been a very competitive Pikeville team. I don't think their season has started how they would have liked to, but I think the ceiling for this team is still pretty high. I think that having this contest with Georgetown doesn't really hurt you all that much. With the things Georgetown still has to figure out, it's a game you definitely would have liked to win, but I don't think this hurts you in the long run, if that makes sense.
The nightcap here then is definitely Tex West and Ottawa. And Matt, if you'll allow me to step on my soapbox here for just a hot second. I can't say that, if I was a coach, I would have done this or that. But the math tells me that when you are kicking field goals of low to mid 20s of distance, that's toughy. Those Ottawa kicked 2 field goals from the 4 and the 8. You've got to be able to punch that in. It's a 2-score game. You get either one of those converted into 7, you win the game.
Yeah. It's It's brutal for Ottawa, man. And I wouldn't say either team really played that bad either. Like, for the most part, this was a very competitive, very good game between two top 25 teams. I think this just proved to me the only problem, too, though, is now you have a Texas Wesleyan team who I have shot up the rankings because back to back wins against two top 25 teams, um, two top 15 teams, actually, at the time that they played them. And now Texas Wesleyan is already setting themselves ahead of the pack in the Sooner. I'm very interested to see how the Sooner shakes out now because Ottawa's in a bit of a precarious spot after losing to Texas Wesleyan, and we still don't have an idea of where Langston and a lot of those other teams are at. So it's a good win for Texas Wesleyan to get on the board. They're high on my poll because of this win and because of last week's win against Lindsey Wilson. I think this is a top 15 football team in the country. I'm hoping everybody else will hop on the bandwagon with me here soon because I really like this team.
It's hard to figure out what Langston is. I mean, honestly, it's not. It's hard to know what you are when you just took a 73 to nothing butt whipping at the hands of Central Oklahoma. That's not what you want to be, and I know that's not what Langston wants to be, and or will be. But I don't know. The team that has definitely surpassed my expectations is Montana Tech, that 2-0 team. Carroll tried to come back late, and Matt, a fake punt with 40 seconds left from Carroll's 43. That's boy, that takes some intestinal fortitude to call that.
Yeah, no question about it. But man, Montana Tech for most of this game was pretty much in the driver's seat. This is even with Blake Thielen not having his best day through the air, kind of just relying on that defense and Lander Smith to help move the ball along. But man, going for the fake punts to seal the win is the gutsiest thing I've ever seen. And I feel like with trends in college football the last few years, that's a play that statistically you probably don't want to go for. But hey, the numbers don't always tell the truth. Numbers lie sometimes. You know what I mean?
The numbers that don't lie, though, are 17 points allowed off turnovers for Carroll College.
Yeah,
that quick change defense, especially the block punt that Montana Tech picks up at like the 2-yard line. That'll kill you.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to tell in a stat sheet sometimes how dominant a defense could be, but Montana Tech's defense was suffocating for 80% of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Oakes had 6 tackles and 3 sacks to his name. You have a DB in Braden Orlandi with 9 tackles, a tackle for loss, and a pick. I mean, there were guys flying all over the field for this Montana Tech team. They looked fantastic. The more that we see of Montana Tech, and this week we have College of Idaho and Montana Western coming up, the top end of the frontier is more exciting than we could have hoped for, Corey.
It's amazing, and I'm here for it. One name that we gotta thank here as we go is Connor Darnell, putting together our graphics package this year and making us look good on socials and on the live show this year. And apologize to Connor for not getting in our poll to give him enough time. So I'm going to read that out here just to kind of give y'all an idea. New into the poll at number 25, we've got Southern Oregon making their debut in our poll. 24, Reinhardt drops a spot. And Ottawa of Arizona at 23 drops 9 after that win, or after that loss against Tex West. Lindsey Wilson down 13 after a disappointing start to the season at 22. And Mid-American Nazarene, the grateful recipient of those 3 falling teams, goes up 3 to number 21. Thoughts about the bottom 5, Matt?
Yeah, I didn't put Southern Oregon on my poll. We talked about this before the show. I don't know if I have a spot for them in my top 25 right now, but they are like 26, 27 on my board. I'm kind of a fan that the sleeping giant is like getting woken back up by the pollsters. I kind of dig that. I think Southern Oregon, too, is going to be in a spot very soon where we're going to know what this team is made of. I think there's a good chance they start the season 4-0, 5-0. They could get rolling pretty quick. Obviously, conference play is still conference play in the Frontier, but I like them being in the poll. I like them being included this early. They're a quality football team that a lot of people are sleeping on.
At number 20, we've got an Evangel team that rises 2 spots after a couple of early wins there. Friends up 2 spots at number 19, holds serve there. Baker going neither up nor down at 18. Texas Wesleyan up 8. A nice jump in the poll to 17. And Dickinson State, who's won twice and fallen 5 spots. I think that's nothing against Dickinson State. It's just the teams ahead of you have had some more impressive wins, I think, more so than it's against Dickinson.
Yeah, and I think so too. A lot of these early season matchups, like we saw Georgetown and Montana Tech play, that's a top 25 matchup. Like we have a bunch of teams in the rankings, like Benedict and Morningside is a big one that would probably impact where Dickinson State is at. Just because there's so much movement in top 25 matchups off the get-go. Like, I get why Dickinson State fell. It's hard for me, too, because in my eyes, like, Friends, Texas Wesleyan, like, those are top 15 teams in my eyes, but I understand that it's pretty – the top 20 right now is just pretty ridiculous in the NAI. You can make a case for a lot of teams to be a lot higher than they are. I feel like Friends – Baker and Texas Wesleyan and hell, throw Dickinson State in there too, are all playing better than they're ranked, but there's just not room. It's too crowded at the top right now.
Yeah, no, that is the truth. Going from 15, Georgetown falls 10 spots after their early loss to Montana Tech. They're at 15. Montana Tech is 1 spot above them. They come up 5 to hold the 14th spot. Dordt, again, a victim of the rejiggeration, down 1 spot to 13. St. Xavier up 4 after a good win. They're tied for 11th with Bethel of Tennessee, who is up 6 after a very nice win, hosting Mary Hardin Baylor.
Yeah, that was a huge win for them, being able to get that one out. I'm still curious to see where these Mid-South teams end up, because Lindsey Wilson, Georgetown, and Bethel are all in a very weird spot with how their seasons have started. They were a bit lower on my poll because I wasn't impressed with what I saw from them. But I think there's very easily a world where 2 of those 3 teams jump back up, and one of them doesn't, just because process of elimination, they all play each other. So.
Right. At number 10, Marion holds serve at neither up nor down. St. Thomas goes up 4 spots, tied for 8th with Benedictine, who is up 7 spots. Morningside checks in at 7th. Very close in the scoring. I feel like, obviously, that's going to remedy itself this week, and we'll go over that either way. But Morningside is down 1 with that loss there at number 7, and Montana Western checks in up 2 spots at number 6, the first of our triple-digit point totals at number 6.
Yeah, pretty good list. I have Montana Western at 3 because I'm biased, and I think they're going to win the whole damn thing this year. But, again, we've been hinting at it. They got a huge matchup this week. Gonna learn a lot about the top of the Frontier. I'll leave it at that.
And I will say number 5, Indiana Wesleyan, who's also up 2, is at 109 points. There's a big gap between 4 and 5 right now.
Yeah.
Between 5 and 10, there is a 19-point gap. Between 4 and 5, there is a 19-point gap. So there's definitely a spot there between 11 and 15. There's a 7-point gap. I mean, you talk about how close these are right now. It's the truth. Number 4, Grandview holding serve. Number 3, College of Idaho holding serve. We do have a change at the top. With Morningside's loss, one of our voters had to choose a new number 1, and that was Kaiser, boosting it over Northwestern. Kaiser with 4 first-place votes, Northwestern with 2.
Who could that have been?
I can't imagine how embarrassing that would have been.
Weird.
So,
unfortunate for that person.
As we go here, we'll step aside and take a break. We'll be back with more on the NAIF Ball Live show with a word from our friends at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
And that is precisely what they do with their web stores, do such a great job with it. I know our friends over at NAI Softball are looking to get involved with them, see how AdCraft can help them. If you want an introduction, just let me know. We can get you in touch with the right folks. The NAI Born and Bred here, it'll be a great decision for your team. So, coming through, let's take a look at the players of the week. Unfortunately, we don't have any 386 NAI record-setting performances over here at wide receiver this week. We can't set records every week. It's unfortunate. But who we do have on offense is Zach Chevalier, the quarterback out of Morningside, 44-57, 481 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an interception in a win over Concordia of Nebraska. I think Morningside has found their quarterback. What do you think, Matt?
I agree. I think we saw some of the hiccups with his start against Benedictine, but still ultimately had a pretty high clip, had a pretty impressive performance. But when you're able to iron out those kinks, what you said, 4 touchdowns to an interception, right? Like
5.
That's a pretty good ratio. 5, sorry. 5 touchdowns to an interception is doing great when you're throwing the ball as much as Morningside is right now. Completely deserved. It's fun to see them kind of work out those wrinkles in their offense. And it just is a matter of if they can keep it up, because I'll tell you what, if they can play like that every week, if their offense and quarterback can play like that every week, Northwestern, man, that game again is going to be circled in red Sharpie. So
the crazy part is I feel like they had like 30 or 40 rushing attempts too. So it's like, how many plays can you possibly run?
That defense too, man. Testament to them getting the ball back in their hands.
No joke. Speaking about defense, our winner this week is Nehemiah Figueroa, the safety out of McPherson College. 12 tackles from the safety position, 3 interceptions, including 1 being a pick 6. Look, double-digit tackles and a pick 6 are usually the way to my heart.
Yep.
And congratulations to Nehemiah. That was a great game there.
Yeah, the heartbeat of that McPherson secondary, he is absolutely fantastic. On a pretty tough McPherson team from what we've seen the past few years too. It's good to see that they're getting guys in the national spotlight. Sure, there are going to be a lot more great things coming from that defense. So
let's take a look at what to watch for this week. It is an absolutely loaded week. I mean, grab your popcorn, like figure out what you're doing for lunch and supper, because you're not moving from the couch for several hours.
Yeah.
It starts at noon as St. Thomas takes a short trip up to Chicago, Illinois, and they are going to be hosted by St. Xavier, number 9 versus number 12. It'll be a great test for St. Xavier, who I don't feel like we got a good read on last week with their opponent there. But they're going to get a test this week. See if you can stop Rontavious Farmer.
Absolutely. And this is a St. Thomas team that has wanted all the smoke. They are probably chomping at the bit to get up to Chicago, play this game. St. Xavier, like you said, we haven't seen much from them this year that we can be too, how do I word it? like it's not definitive kind of what their team is like this year. So it'll be a good test for them. St. Thomas gets to continue their rampage of terror if they so choose to. It's going to be a fun game. Playoff implications here. Honestly, this is a game people are going to point to at the end of the season when people are getting taken and left out of the playoffs. So it's going to be fun. I love the St. Thomas team. They are so fun to watch.
And then at 2 p.m., so you have this perfect little overlap of game. You have Grandview traveling over to Atchison, Kansas, playing at Benedictine. This game could define either of their seasons, honestly. This is probably Grandview's toughest test that they're going to face, and it's a great early test for Benedictine, who still has to run through Baker and Mid-American NAS.
Absolutely, and this could have even greater ramifications because if Grandview loses this game and they stomp through the rest of conference play like they usually do, what does that say about the rest of the Heart? That's something that you definitely have to consider. Obviously, Grandview doesn't care because they are a team that is only caring about what's going on the field, as you should be as a football team when it's the middle of the season. But man, this is going to be a really good one. Benedictine looking to build off of the big win they got to begin the season. This could catapult either of these teams into top 6, top 5 spots.
Well, they're both. So Grandview's number 4, Benedictine's number 8.
Oh, yeah, so Grandview's already there.
Yeah, Grandview's already there. I mean, this is a top 10 matchup, but if you like top 10 matchups, guess what? We got another one at 3 p.m. And that's going to be College of Idaho traveling over to Montana Western in what could end up being round 1 of the Frontier Conference playoffs. This is going to be an absolute heavyweight matchup. The battle of mine and Matt's predictions.
Yes, the battle of our, not just our conference picks, but our national champion picks.
Boy, we doubled down, didn't we?
Yeah, we double dipped. So I'm excited to see these teams go at it. I think we will have a very clear picture. Well, I don't know. I can't even say that. It's the Frontier. Who knows? One of these teams will lose to Montana State Northern next week. So,
oh, geez.
Yeah, I have no idea. But this is a heavyweight bout. I think if you are a fan of NAIA football, this is the must watch this week out of all of these matchups. I mean, you could pick any of them. They're all great games, but this is my must watch. This will be going alongside my D1 screen this week. So,
and then at the same time, you'll get a taste of Receiving Votes Carroll versus Receiving Votes Rocky Mountain, both coming off some shaky play. Who can salvage the early part of their schedule, and who's going to fall behind here in a very competitive Frontier. At 6 p.m., once you've had all 4 of those games down, you get Marion versus Concordia, the last grudge match of the old Mid-States Mid-East.
And this is a Concordia team that has not performed like we thought they were going to. But, man, now you really have nothing to lose if you're Concordia. I'll tell you what, it's going to be scrappy, it's going to be emotional, and it's going to be a fun football game.
And then a 7 o'clock kick, we have Receiving Votes Kansas Wesleyan, who loses to Evangel week 1, maybe is trying to get back on the horse there, playing host to Receiving Votes Southwestern, who's just going to be trying to keep up with friends and make their case to get into the playoffs. Man, just a ton of games this week where we can look back at week 2 specifically come late November and go, this week was a major deciding factor in these playoffs. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And the fact that we have such major implications this early in the season, man, nothing beats it. There's a reason football's so magical, right?
Not with a stick. I mean, and we talk about it. I mean, we've also got games like Kaiser traveling to their second consecutive D2 opponent. Yep. Didn't even mention that. We have Indiana Wesleyan traveling to Valpo, who they beat last year. We have Georgetown going down to Alabama A&M, a full scholarship FCS squad, and Dickinson State hosting Wisconsin Stout. that got a Reinhardt Southeastern, which could be very important to see where Reinhardt is after a 1-point win against Faulkner. You've got Baker at William Penn. You never know what can happen. That William Penn team could be sneaky good. You've got, Olivet Nazarene at Siena Heights. Might be a fun one to watch there. That's going to be kind of keeping your eye out on that. And then you've got a Northwestern team that is traveling over to Mount Marty who's feeling good after a rivalry win. Who knows? The Lancers could get their chance to shock the world.
I don't want to talk about it. Good for them. I hope Northwestern puts 50 on them. So that's where I'm at. For those that aren't aware, Dakota Wesleyan lost the rivalry game to Mount Marty in horrific fashion this past weekend. So
it's one of those sorry not sorries.
I'm not looking. It's not looking good for my Tigers. Love them though. Back them 100%. Always behind them. Always have been.
All right, catching a couple of the comments. Henchman 21 says, running to work, I'll catch the replay, Roll Diggs. That's going to be a good one. Let's see. Who do they play this week? Montana Tech plays. Where'd they go, George? Oh, they have a bye. A well-deserved bye after beating.
Well-deserved bye.
I mean, they're going to be able to ride that for a hot minute there. And Chris Swiner, our favorite Baker fan, says, we got some more weapons at receiver this year. Look, Yulesgard looked absolutely phenomenal last week.
Baller.
And, honestly, we're all just waiting for the three-way playoff of Benedictine, Baker, Mid-American Nazarene. I mean, there's nothing more you can say there. That's going to be just peak.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, to make another terrible segue, who really is peak are our patrons. And, look, hey.
It works.
It does. And we are so thankful for them. Thanks to Jason Garnon coming on this week, a new patron. We're so thankful for what they do. Our patrons are the ones who help us keep the lights on here, keep the you have to pay for Microsoft Office.
It's true.
They just don't give that away. It pays for all the boring stuff. And so if you want to support all the boring side of things, which you really should, because that's the stuff that keeps everything going, please become one of our patrons. Got the QR code right there on the screen. And our patrons are DSU Cone, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vobble, Fred Christensen, Ace Wellen, Brett, Marty Seabolt, Nick Ryan, Hayden Ferrigno, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lout, Dale Norton, Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Charles A. Flowers, Todd, Nick, Sean Chamberlain, Zach Lance, Josue Trujillo, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, twice maybe, Chris, Henchman 21, Derek Lowers, and Jason Garnon. It's going to be, it's going to be such a fun week. Even for me personally, going up on Saturday to catch a neutral site game against with Thomas and Bethel of Tennessee, I heavily expect to call lots of Wildcat touchdowns. Sorry, Nighthawks. But that's going to be so much fun because I've never actually gotten to meet, in as many times as I've interviewed him, I've never gotten to meet Mike Jasper in the flesh, one of the dear friends of the program. I'm excited to actually hug this man around his neck. The last NAIA player to get drafted into the NFL. And he's been such a great friend, like I said, of the program, making sure that we get taken care of. That's going to be a fun one. There's so much good football going on. Keep an eye on patrons. We'll be dropping our kind of some of the behind the scenes here. Patrons get a look at how our poll voters voted. Yes, poll voters. It is redacted. They don't get to see who voted for what. But patrons do
You
get
can
to see.
see my poll because mine's always the right one, and that's the most important part.
Not like all the way to the right. Mimi's right is correct.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I
Indeed.
probably need to be careful about those words when talking about polls, huh?
Ye-
November's not that far away.
That's fair. That's
Anyway,
fair.
anyways,
Sean
sorry.
Chamberlain notes IWU is 2-2 all time versus FCS schools. Both losses were by 3. That's a big one. You know, you got that win against Valpo last year. That is a huge win when you get to November and you're talking about seeding. You can
Speaking
sit
of November,
right, and you can get there and say, "Hey, this team beat an FCS team. Yes, it's a Pioneer team, but FCS Pioneer is still better than probably a good
yeah,
portion of your D2 squads out there."
yeah, absolutely. So
That's a huge one right there. So excited to see what happens there. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll get to debut the graphics that Connor so amazingly puts together every week, and you'll get to see them in all their glory. Matt, you got anything else before we sign off?
man, just go down when it's third down, and all you need to do is down the ball to win the game.
Why do that when you can do the Miami style?
Look, okay. I got nothing, man. It was brutal. It was brutal. Just always hold on to the ball. Long story short, high and tight, 2 hands on the ball when you're going down. The basics.
Oof. You know, we should actually call out for good Florida Memorial taking care of Edward Waters in the Big Cat Classic last week. That's
yeah.
that's a little overlooked. Man, Bethel at Ottawa is going to be a good game this week of ones that are kind of on the down low. Concordia at Dakota Wesleyan. You got a chance. I mean, you get it.
Gotta find your way back, man. I was disheartened after the Dakota State game, and Dakota Wesleyan put up. Honestly, the fact that they had the lead and gave it up was a surprise to me. I didn't think it was going to be that competitive after the way Mount Marty beat the crap out of Culver Stockton. But hey, fellas, I believe in you. If nobody else believes in you, I believe in you.
Absolutely.
Let's lock it in.
All right. Well, for now, then we will sign off, and we will see y'all on the Twitter feed. Yeah, everything came through like 8:30.